Yeah, so I'm recording this now. So this is what we want to do. This first one here, and also this. So this is like a product, more like, should I say, modeling a product or stuff like that. If you are familiar with free pick, you likely see stuffs usually like this. I stumbled on something like this on Instagram, from a designer. So the guy was showing how to do something like this on Photoshop, and I was like, let me try this with smartphone. So let me see what I'll be able to come up with, and I came up with this. So let's go. All right, so just open your Pixellab. You just color the background, and then you create a square shape. So you place the square shape somewhere here like this. Make sure it's centralized. So I'll just centralize this like this. Now I'm going to bring in a background that I want to use, not the draw. I'm going to bring in a background. So I'm going to mark this, and I'm just going to increase this relative size to the highest like that. I'm just going to lock this layer, and I'm going to bring this to back. All right, so we have this and we have this shape. The next thing I want to do is to add texture to this shape. Now, what I'm doing right now, I'm just going to show you guys, the rundown how to, do it. I'm not, I just had to create, time to quickly do this. So when doing yours, you can try to make it as perfect as possible. So I'm going to click on texture. I want to add texture inside of this square shape. I'm going to click on my texture, but now I'm going to just reduce the size. All right, I just want something like this for my texture, something like this for my texture. Okay, something like this, and I'll just mark this, and I have something like this for texture. Can you see this? So I'm going to bring it a little bit down here. Let's reduce this shape. It looks a little bit big. Yeah, bring it down here. Bring this way, take it down again. Let's bring it up a little. Yeah, so we have something like this. Now the next thing is I'm going to copy the same shape like this. All right, I'm going to copy the same shape, but I'm going to change the texture now. I'm going to pick that same texture, so I'm going to pick the texture from the middle somewhere here like this, and I'm just going to mark this. All right, so after marking this, I have something like this. Remember, it's the same shape I duplicated. Don't create a new shape, duplicate the first shape. Now the next thing I'm going to do is make sure this one is centralized. All right, and then bring down, using the positioning, just bring it down. Make sure that you can see, the break here. Can you see that there's a distinctive, stuff here? There's something distinctive here. So you need to achieve that. All right, this place. So now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to just click on, this upper shape, and I'm going to click on, let's see, edit. Okay, not edit. Let's not make use of edit. So let's see. Let's click on perspective. I'm going to enable perspective, and I'm going to bring this down like this, bring this down like this, bring this down again, bring this down again, bring this down again. All right. Now remember, when making use of perspective, remember I always say it that you need to try and get it, as accurate as you can. It's not something you just say, let me just do it anyhow and leave it. No, when it comes to perspective, ensure that you get it right. So let me just mark this. Now, can you see the shape? Can you see the shape there? Let's do something again. Let me repick the texture for this upper shape. Let me repeat the texture from somewhere here, so that the brown, the kind of dark side will show. All right, so let's mark this. So can you see, if you are on this call and you are seeing what I'm doing, can I just hear your voice? Can you see what I'm doing right now? Can you see something?
Yes, I can.
Aha. So you can see now that if you increase the scale, you will not really see that brown part. You see, after increasing the scale, this is what I have. But I don't want to increase the scale to the highest, because I want that brown part to really, really show on this design. All right. So let's leave it to like 100, and we have something like this. But now the thing is that when you look at this place, you are going to see that this place is looking, let me just show you. This place here is kind of looking like there's nothing real there. It's not real. So I need to make that place realistic. I need to make that place realistic. So I'm just going to click on shape again. I'm going to make this a cycle and mark this. I'm going to reduce the opacity, all right, to the 0, mark it, and then I'm going to go to my shadow, enable your shadow. But now what we want to do is increase the blur of your shadow to 25 and then pick something like this shadow. Remember, I already showed how to reduce the opacity of shadow. You click on the add and then you reduce the opacity of shadow using this. So this is how you reduce the opacity of shadow. So I'm going to click OK. I'm going to mark this. I'm going to reduce like this, rotate this way, and then bring it down here. Now I'm going to take it to back. I want it to be behind, the two shapes we did. So let's lock that shape so that the shape does not move. Yeah. Let me see. No, let's lock this to square. So let's have something like this behind. Now the shadow is kind of too much. So I'm still going to work on the shadow to reduce the opacity of the shadow to something like this. All right, to something like this. Now I'm going to copy the shadow again. I'm going to bring it here. All right, I'm going to take it to back and I'm going to bring it somewhere here like this. All right, so you can see we have two there. Now I'm going to copy one more time and I'm going to rotate now horizontally like this. Reduce, bring it here, take it to back, take it to the back of the two square shapes. All right, now but this one we need to really be intentional about it. Let me just reduce it this way. It has to be more reduced than the other ones, so we can bring it somewhere here like this and then we have something like this. But now the shadow is not extremely perfect. Like I said, you need to perfect this maybe when you are doing yours so that you can have something like this. And you can decide to reduce the opacity of the shadow again. If it's too much, let's reduce again. All right, so let's reduce the opacity of the shadows again. um Click on shadow, choose this one, and click on the last shadow here, and then we choose this, and then we have something like this. So we have been able to achieve that. Now what we're going to do next is to bring in the product. So this is the product. I downloaded this image from FreePic. All right, so I downloaded it from FreePic. So I'm just going to bring this product here. I'm going to mark this. I'm going to read it. Now you can see that the color of the product is aligning with the color of the background, which makes it more, sweet and amazing. All right. So what I just want to do is try and rotate the product a little bit. If you want to create something realistic, you need to ensure that there's realistic shadow at the bottom of the shape. So that is what we're going to achieve now. So what you just do, still you can copy the same shadow here. You can copy this. All right, you can copy the same shadow we drew. No, not this. Let's copy this one here. Let's copy this shadow here. So we rotate this way like this, reduce this way, and bring it down like this. Take it to back of the shape. Take it to back of the shape. All right, and then we start regulating. So let's lock the layer of the shape. So we'll start regulating the shadow. The shadow is too light. It's still not realistic. So we need to go back and increase the opacity. So I'm going to click on the add icon. I'm going to increase the opacity of the shadow. And then the shadow is too loud. So I need to reduce the blur radius of the shadow. Then one more thing I need to do is that I need to, okay, let's do it. Let me do it a simpler way. This will confuse some of us. Let's do it a simpler way. I want to create shadow for this. I'm going to click on shapes. I'm going to click on cycle. I'm going to mark this. Now I'm going to change this cycle to black color. I just want to make it simpler for us to see. Mark this black color. Now the next thing you do is click on 3D rotate. Click on 3D rotate using the X axis. Rotate this way. Rotate it such that it will be almost 90, but don't make it 90. So you can have 84, you can have 86, but don't make it 90. Once it's 90, it's going to be like a straight line. All right, and it's not really cool that way. So you can even make it 87. So let's make it 87. We're going to mark this. We're going to reduce this like this. Bring it here like this. This shadow looks too thick. It's too black. So this cannot be a realistic shadow. So you go to your opacity, you reduce the opacity to 0, you mark this, and then you come back to your shadow. You click on your shadow, you click enable shadow. Now you see immediately you click enable shadow. There is shadow there, but the shadow is still looking very dark. So what you need to do is to increase maybe the blur radius, increase the blur radius, and then click on this add icon, reduce the opacity of the shadow, and then click OK. You can see there is shadow there, but this is now looking, should I say, still too thick. So let's reduce the opacity again. Let's see. We keep working on it until we get it. Let's see. It's still looking thick for me. All right. So what you need to do again is, I don't want to leave it like this. It's looking too sharp. Now let's go back to 3D rotate. Let's reduce. Yeah. So can you see? As I'm reducing it, the 3D, as I placed it on 81, you can see now the shadow is looking more realistic. If I keep on reducing, but not too much, let's just leave it at 80. So it's looking realistic now. So now we can go back and, work on, the opacity, of the shadow, stuffs like that. So you can work on the opacity of the shadow right now and just get the exact opacity you need for this. So let me see. Hmm, let me see. So this can be the shadow, but let me choose another. The thickness of the shadow is too much, so I'm trying to regulate that. Uh, let's see. The shadow is too thick. Let me make use of the 3D again. Okay, I think this is giving me issues. Let me do it the way I do it. Let me lock this layer. Let me do it the way I do it. This is kind of giving me issues. So let's click, now let's click the normal shape. Let's click the normal shape and click this cycle. Reduce the opacity of this. Reduce the opacity. Add the shadow. Increase the blurriness of the shadow. You mark this. You reduce the shadow this way, like this. All right, and then you go to your 3D now, and then you rotate like this. So this is the way I usually do it, and this is perfect. So I think let me just stick to this way. I wanted to show us, a easier route, but this is better. So can you see now that this shadow is more realistic? So please, when you're doing yours, you follow the second process. That first process is not really giving the exact thing I want. So you have something like this. So can you see that the shadow is sitting? Now you move this product a little bit because you want to show that the product is centralized. So let's move the product and let's move the shadow. Where's the shadow now? Yeah, so let's move this shadow also. Now the shadow is too bright, so you can reduce the opacity a little. It's just little, a little. So let's reduce the opacity a little. Yeah, so you have something like this. So you can see that we have shadow here. Now you just write the text, which is cherry. So I'm just going to, excuse me. Yeah. You sure you're not taking the shadow to the back of the product? No, you take the shadow to the back. This is the shadow here. This is the product. The shadow is behind the product. Yeah, the shadow can't stay on top of the product. Once it stays on top of the product, it will be reflecting on the product, so it has to go behind. So that's why. So I'm going to choose the font that I used, and that is cat. Let me check that font now. So the name of the font is Catley's uh Genetsin. Catalyst Genetsin. That's the name of the font. So I'm going to click that font and I'm going to click OK. So I have something like this. Now, but the font is a bit cut out. So I'm going to work on my padding. Just increase the padding 6 by 6. All right. And then you have something like this. I'm going to centralize this and I'm going to take it to back of, our product. And then I'm going to bring it down and then just reduce the opacity so that the white wouldn't be too much on this design. You reduce the opacity so that you have something beautiful like this, and then that is all for this this product stuff. So you can just raise it up a little bit like this, and then you have something like this. So if you want to change it to the white one that I did here, all right, very quickly, let's change it to the white I did here. Where is it? So very quickly, let's quickly change it to this. So I'm just going to pick up a white background. So I'm going to, pick up a white background. Just go to my gallery. Yeah, so I have something like this. This is the background, but I'm going to reduce the, no, I'm not rotating. I'm going to reduce the ratio to 1:1. So I have something like this, all right, which is 1:1. All right, and then I'm going to mark this. Now I'm going to increase the size it this way, and then I'm going to take it to back. All right, I just want all the shapes we used will still be there, but what we are going to do is now, can you see that immediately I took it to back, this shape now became more visible. This shape here, this shape now became more visible. This thing here now became more realistic. Guys, can you see this? Can you see that it became more realistic? Can you see? So let's change it to white. So I'm going to click on the first shape and I'm going to choose texture. Remember, it was texture we inserted here. So I'm going to choose texture again. I'm going to click on that same background, and I'm going to, make it square shape, reduce this way, so that we can have a texture that looks something like this. And then I'm going to mark this. So we have number one, and then we click on the second shape. We click on texture again. We delete this. We add texture. Let me see something, even without adding texture. Okay, the stuff is looking white. So let's just add texture. So click on texture again. So we have something like this square shape. Reduce the size of the texture so you can have something like this, and then you mark this, and then you have something like this. Now, but for this one, we'll still need to follow the process of adding the shadows we added. Let me just bring it down. I'm still trying to get the exact way of actualizing using actualizing this with white background. All right, but it's not something hard just for me to sit down and get it. So but you just had shadows here, but the shadow on this white now must not be too much. So we can just reduce the opacity a little bit. It must not be too much. All right, it must not be too much because it's white. So if the shadow is too much, it will be very visible and it's going to distort whatever you are doing. So let me just click OK this way. Now we have to reduce the shadow beneath this product, because now this shadow is looking quite much. So I'm going to click on shadow, reduce the opacity of this shadow some to something like this. Yeah, so let's see. um so we have something like this. Now permit me to I need to recrop this background to something like this. Let's move it this way and see. Let's have something like this on this background. Okay, so let's have something like this. Now for the text, I'm just going to change the color. I'm going to pick the color from the product. I'm going to pick the color from the product. I can pick this, I can mark this, and I click OK. So we can increase the opacity to, the highest, and then you have something like this for this. So if you can see that the first one we did is quite more, the one that has this stuff, this color, the first one we did is quite more visible and, quite very good compared to this white one. Like I said, it's only a matter of time for me to just hack the code, just to sit down a little bit with it and hack the code. So I just thought of sharing something new with every one of us on the call, and that's why I had to do a quick section with us. Did we follow to this point?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
All right, so I believe we got everything I explained.